Okay. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the Best of Tough virtual screenings. We're doing screenings rest of the month, showing the best of Tough films that we've shown throughout the years. Tonight we have uh, Lindsay Denenberg and Chris Shields from Lost Girl, actually Video Diary of a Lost Girl. So welcome you two.
Hello.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for being part of this, and thanks for allowing us to show your movie in this virtual screening series. You know, when the pandemic hit, we weren't sure how we were going to do things. So this was one of our ideas, was to do a virtual screening series, and hopefully we'll be able to do some of the selections for this year's festival later on this month. But I wanted to start with you, Lindsay. Lindsay, what have you been doing since March?
Of this year?
Yeah, because like March seems like so long away. It's been feels like decades.
I have been editing or finishing. It's actually been the disturbing silver lining of the quarantine, because it's given me more time to finish editing the rough cut to me and Chris's next movie, Killer Makeover. So, and I think I've talked to you about that, Rule.
Yes.
Yeah. So
working on Killer Makeover for a while, right?
Oh yes, definitely. It's been an exodus. It's like kind of double, like the extension of the world of Video Diary, like, kind of really filling it out, with a lot of characters, and just kind of showing everything. So, yeah.
How about you, Chris? What have you been working on since March?
I mean, I don't know, not much. I mean, I also do film writing, so I've done some writing, and I'm lucky enough that I get to work from home, so I have a day job, so that's cool. But yeah, I mean, just supporting the Lindsay from afar, and
yeah. Well, Chris will be working on the sound soon.
Yeah.
Doing the recut,
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
How close are you to that, Lindsay?
I would say like another 4 to 6 months, depending on how fast we can both work. I'm actually moving to Florida at the end of September, so to, escape from LA, New York situation style, escape from Chicago.
Sure.
So going to Florida with my parents, and I will be able to finish up art department there. And right now I'm actually preparing for that move, and it's helping finish the movie because I'm filming all the miniature surfaces and doing something different than Video Diary, where before it was like a full set. Now I'm trying something where it's like surfaces I can kind of collage together mixed with full set. So it's like, because there's a lot more sets in this one. So yeah, and I filmed some stuff at my friend Cassandra's. I'm actually not at my house right now.
I'm
here, and re-quarantining. Long story. I don't into it. But filming like light, experiments and stuff that work for all the witch scenes, and I sent Chris some videos.
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Thank you. And all it is just fucking party lights on a green screen. It doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's all about framing. So
this is really ambitious, though. I mean, it's taken a while, but it's a complete fantasy vision.
Yeah, it's our magnificent Ambersons. I worry about it. So,
yeah.
So it's kind of like in the same world as Video Diary.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's even a moment where you see behind the main character Karen, you see the video store in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And the video store is like the nucleus to my brain, so you're always going to see it in every movie from here on out, personally. So
yeah.
So in Video Diary, the video store, is it kind of based on the one that you were working at?
No, because I didn't start working at Odd Obsession. I worked at Odd Obsession Movies, which unfortunately closed recently because of, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
You know what happened. So that was the weird irony of working at Odd Obsession, because I didn't start working there until after Video Diary had been out for a couple of years. So
that's interesting. When I watched it again, that's the first thing I thought of was like, oh, it's Odd Obsession.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I feel like
inside of Lindsay's brain is Odd Obsession.
Oh yeah, shout out to Brian, Josh, Antoine, all you motherfuckers out there. So, and Mike. So
You had worked at a video store though.
I worked at fucking Blockbuster.
Yeah,
You had the bet. I mean, me and Chris really kind of connected when, like, in the beginning of our friendship. I remember you worked at Hollywood Video, and I would visit you there. I'm just like, yes, this is what
I worked at a lot of video stores.
Yeah, you worked at Video.
Blockbuster Video. Worked at an adult video store. I worked at a place called
That
Video.
was my favorite story.
It's like an independent.
Which
store.
Hollywood Video was it, Chris?
Well, I'm from Florida, so it was in my hometown. Oh, it was in Orlando where we went to college.
Yeah.
Oh,
I worked at a comic book store at the same time. So
Yeah. hmm
Crazy.
yeah.
Well, all the things that closed since. Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
And video
Yeah.
stores.
We had all like the nerd jobs like before they
Wanted them.
all closed. Yeah.
I worked at Barnes and Noble too.
So the world that Video Diary of a Lost Girl is in, it's very bright and colorful, and you use a ton of green screen. Is that something that you like all be wanted to work in or done this green screen process?
No, I think honestly I gotta give props to John Cates. He was my advisor at SAC, and he was like, "Why don't you try green screen?" And that's all it really took, was just someone kind of heavily suggesting it during like a talkative session, you know, and it seemed like the most like reasonable. And I've never used green screen before, so I think, you know, the one who really taught me, shout out again to Mikey McFarland, he showed me how to key shit out. You know, so it's like SAC being around the people who are also trying to do what you're doing with different technical expertise helping out, you know, Casey Puccini too, he always helps me out with tech shit, you know, to this day. So,
But I think it was like the perfect tool that you encountered at that time because I mean Lindsay and I had gone to undergrad together and
yeah, we never did it there.
yeah, never. And like you just had like such an ability with like art department and like always been interested in monsters and effects and like I feel like the green screen like unlocked so much potential
Almost too much.
for you. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you invented like a whole aesthetic. I feel like for yourself, like this splatter green.
Yeah,
screen.
it's definitely.
I say the flattery thing. Yeah, no, and you know, Chris, I feel like a lot of me and Chris's conversations throughout the years is like kind of the primordial ooze that kind of forms this. Who the fuck is texting me during my Q&A? It's Cup mentioning me in their thing. Okay, thank you, Cup.
There you go.
Awesome.
Yeah,
All
no
around.
popular.
So the green screen really fits the story, right? In like this world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was half and half. You know, it's half green screen, half real world, meat world, whatever you want to call it, Pilsen, and
Yeah.
where else? My Pilsen apartment and outside the Pilsen apartment, and the bathroom at the SAIC. So,
Oh yeah.
Oh, the bathroom rest. Yeah, that is.
yeah, we let the blood flow all over the. A lot of shit happened at SAIC.
Not allowed to talk about it. But
No, can't.
No, but-
What happens at SAIC, you can't talk.
well, what I was gonna say about with the green screen was I feel like a lot of our discussion, like talking about it, like moving up to it, and also even in our undergrad was like, you know, neither of us are like, we like kind of like are guiltily like interested in narrative, but like pulling it to like the furthest end. So it was like, well, how much can you do in like a ridiculous way that like it's clearly fake, you know,
Right.
but it's still compelling.
Yeah,
And, like,
it's addictive, emotionally.
And so I feel like on Video Diary, you just kept pulling it further and further and being like, is this still a story? Is this still like a movie? And like, and that's why I was always proud of it.
But
Like,
you know what? Like the green screen really helps with the story, and people, movies and TV shows use green screen all the time. So it's like different. Like The Mandalorian is basically green screen.
yeah, true.
Haven't seen it.
I mean, it's.
You are Baby Yoda.
But I mean,
I've seen it,
they you know they have like $1 billion equipment to do it.
Yeah.
Basically the same process.
Yeah.
Like on a stage with a big background.
And you're not gonna.
Oh, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was just gonna say you're not gonna trick. And the thing is, when you don't
Yeah.
have money, I feel like you're not gonna trick people. Like, so why not like draw attention to it and like why not make it as like outrageous and fun as you can? Because we're never gonna be able to make it totally realistic unless I mean I don't know. I mean I don't know what miracle.
Would we want to though? Like the realism of today's
No.
cinema is like sepia and grays and you know bad. What is it? I'll you know this is not a confession. This is just facts. I work on Final Cut Pro 7. You know this and our most recent one, Killer Makeover, is also on Final Cut Pro 7. And I do
Yeah.
some rekeying in After Effects. But this thing hasn't touched Premiere Pro. We're behind the times, so on purpose. And
It's fine.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is setup. No, yeah, Final Cut Pro effects have a weird impressionistic look to them, and I've been doing a lot of, because of Killer Makeover, kind of doing a lot more video experiments to kind of push it to the extreme, like working with the effects of like relief and everything.
Yeah.
So it kind of stretches it to, I don't know, it's great.
Yeah.
So Chris, how long did you guys take to kind of write this whole story out for the film?
I feel like we had, I mean, it had to, was it like maybe 2 years of talking? Year and a
With
half?
for Video Diary, it was what it was is I was taking Barry Sandler's feature script writing class at UCF. So and it was like my last year of film school, and Chris was a year ahead of me, so he'd already graduated, but we were actually mates at the time. So and he was helping me with my thesis projects and stuff.
Yeah.
So at the same time doing a thesis film, like which back then felt like nothing, like a 15-minute film, you know. And, but I also had the feature writing class that lasted for a year with Barry Sandler, and he wrote Crimes of Passion and Making Love and like some really good shit. You know, shout out anymore, Chris. Those are the ones I think of the most. So
I mean, those are the greats. Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. And so I had the class and everything, and it went on for a year. But like Chris was the one I was talking to the most about it. You know, because like you know one of my best friends and roommates, and just want to talk. We want to talk film constantly. So you know, was kind of through those discussions, and like everything ignited. I think when you mentioned Rockula to me for the first time, you know, so. And I found my demon lover because I worked at Salvation Army, and that was a thing too. So
I think we were talking about it for like, I mean, since her undergrad and then all the way through to when she got to grad school. And it was kind of trying to make it this, I feel like Lindsay had a really, really intense fantasy, fully developed vision of a world and a story. And then but we both also like schlock so much. So it was starting to try to meld like a very, very ambitious fantasy world with like basically these 80 horror comedies and retain enough of both. So there was a lot of talking. We would just kind of talk out scenes as, you know, the dialogue on the phone.
Yeah, there were and I'd actually like to talk about even like the alternate endings, like because there was one where you were like Charlie was going to turn into a woman, you know, and that would explain the Lilith myth. Do you remember that at all? I remember it, and I was just like, I don't know, just because like I want just, you know, I want what I want right now, you know. So
well, I think your horniness is a big part of your movie.
It is, you know. So
and that's what I think is very like I like that about like that like female desire and like sexuality is like very present in your movies, but mainly in the form of your personal horniness, which I really enjoy.
And you know what? Film can never really like I do want to work in porn eventually, you know, and direct. You know, fucking what's his face? The Licorice Quartet guy, Bradley
Metzger.
Yeah, like in that way, you know, like fucking Teresa and Isabel like destroyed me emotionally once when we were, you know, hanging out.
Yeah, a little classy, you know.
So was there a lot of I feel like this movie could have been 4 hours long. You guys cut out a lot.
I want to do TV shows now. I feel like that's the new cinema, so might as well lean into it. That's not.
Well, on Video Diary, I mean, there was a lot more written, and it got.
Oh yeah, totally.
I mean,
the Lilin world, you know, and Charlie's background. There was a time, I think, even in one of the early drafts, where I really wanted Charlie to be Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you like it very much. Yeah, so no, I like, and that was like the darker part of the fantasies because I loved Jack the Ripper. Tom Savini's and Jack in the River, you know. So when I wanted that VHS look, so it's always there was a time where like there would be a kind of like a mutilation, and you see a TV in someone's body being mutilated. I'm like, okay, that's the essence of what we want, but we don't need all of that. So.
Yeah,
I feel at some point, Lindsay, that you and I talked at a cuff party about you wanting to have your own TV station. I swore we had a conversation like that.
Oh, I talked to everyone about that, honestly, so yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, that is part of also like your creativity and your brain is like,
also we talk about
it is like channels being flipped on like a satanic TV set. It's like,
I mean, basically what in Video Diary.
18 is a big influence. I love that goddamn movie.
You guys are flipping channels, right? In Video Diary of Lost Girl.
Yeah,
Mhm.
well, especially even in format, like,
Mhm.
and that was another thing where it's like,
You
again,
had the best idea that really formed it though. It was like, why don't you use early like intros to VHS and movie presentations? Like
yeah,
so a lot of the transitions and
Like
like
the graphics.
mhm.
yeah, the graphics, like I mean I still even in Killer Makeover is part of like this library of film stuff I use on everything that's always there. So I still use those for everything. Like it'll pop up. I'll just use a second of it, but it'll be that like kind of glitter burst of something 80s that you need that isn't just like a premiere effect.
It's that texture that you want, and I feel like we really connected because I mean we were
Textures.
you meet people and you like are video obsessed, and we both had all these VHS and like it just that stuff is imprinted on your brain, and so like
Yeah.
you do respond to it, and I feel like you can take it and slip it in almost in like like ways that are not as noticeable.
Mhm.
And I feel like that really gives like your films and like Video Diary like really like this kind of like cocoon warmth, like,
I want to
sucking you
make
into
other
that.
movies. So
Yeah. Also, there's like I noticed there's a lot of like handling of VHS tapes.
Yeah, shout out to Danny Gallegos. Most of it is his collection and on the walls too. Who is Chris's roommate currently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean,
he had a VHS collection.
Oh yeah, no, he had the best collection, and
crazy.
I had some too. So from Trauma.
And then all the shirts that Charlie wears, like the horror shirts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Besides the Day of the Dead one, they're like his shirts.
Yeah. All the ones Louise wears with the dolls one,
Yeah.
and there's so many good ones. It's like part of the thing now.
Are those all his posters too on the set?
Some of them.
I think it was the Happy Birthday one, especially. Like most of the clipping ones and the Liquid Sky poster, especially, are mine. There's like an Anatomy of Hell poster. It's pretty much just like my taste. And Chris just all posted everywhere. My favorite one though is like a Stephen King poster of him petting a cat with like Dr. Glass.
Oh, okay.
That's my favorite picture in the movie.
But it was easy to get people excited and to want to like work on the movie though, like people like Danny and myself and like a few other people, because I do think, Lindsay, you tapped into something that was like us obsessive, like kind of fetishistic, like at that time VHS people, because we were really reading the writing on the wall that it was like, this shit is done. You know what I mean? Like video.
Yeah, let's give it a good funeral.
Exactly, and it's like we were just. I mean, that was the basis of like our taste, and so someone like Danny and whoever, people were like, "Oh my god, like you like this stuff too?" Like,
oh yeah, when it was such a joy introducing Danny to Chris. So that's like,
also like the party scenes really reminded me of the Wretched Nobles parties.
Oh yeah.
When Emily used to have the screenings at church.
Yeah, the Wretched Nobles.
Yeah, you guys remember those days, right?
Oh yeah.
That totally reminded me of those parties somehow.
Yeah. I feel like it's like kind of the same. Yeah, same. Maybe even some of the same people.
Definitely some of the same people. But how was it approaching people to be in this movie? Like, did you say I'm making this movie, be in it, or like did you give them an explanation?
Let's see. It was mainly friends of friends putting out Facebook posts. The producer is Erin Nixon, and she helped a lot with that. One of the funniest things though was like actually putting out like a manifesto of the film and feminine sexuality and asking Panera to donate for us because of that. That's and they did it.
Feminist institution.
Before it was.
Wait, didn't give you any money? That's shocking.
I check the credits. I don't remember, So we made our own paninis. We were all very, that's kind of, as long as there's enough food,
Well, as far as like getting people, I feel like we had done some stuff in undergrad that was like stuff that had crowds a little bit, but it was basically, I mean, we were both part of like a kind of, for lack of a better term, like punk experimental noise, like.
Well, where we played is now called the CBGBs of Orlando, apparently, Uncle Lou's. So
so we just got people from like bands and like the people that would come to a show, and we were just like, Lindsay a big box of like crazy clothes,
Yeah.
Or they have stuff. And
Yeah,
then
we
just-
all pooled our resources.
yeah, make your these people show up. It's like it's like a show, but it's during the day, and you're like, okay, put on, dress up like this,
Mhm.
like almost like a bizarre children's show character.
That's what I wanted to feel like, because I mean I've been, I'm doing Zoom art teaching right now, but I've been an art teacher for the past 3 years now, and that is what my everyday was just like that dress up thing. So it's like, I was filming something with a friend recently, a pickup for for Killer Makeover, and after working with kids and just dressing up there, and I was filming my father, so the friend I was filming with was like, wow, you're really efficient now. I'm like, yeah, I can work with my father and children. So
Well,
like
both times when we showed up for when I first came to Chicago for Video Diary, and then the second time we came back for Killer Makeover. I mean, Lindsay, in between films, you accumulate the shit that's going to be on screen.
Yeah, I'm the hoarder.
There are boxes of things, and she'll just start pulling stuff out, and she'll be like, "How about this? This skull on a stick?" And I'm just like, "Oh, that's cool." You're like, "I
The
also
dead
got."
box.
Yeah. She had a thing with all these skulls and like bones and stuff in it, and we called it the dead box because it was just all like death stuff. And like tons of fabric. I mean, the stuff that you collect is everything's made from that, which is so fun.
And in the next month, I am filming all of it and getting rid of all of it, or at least half of it, and moving with some of it. So it's like I'm going through some weird, like kind of Cronenberg fly regurgitation Devo thing. I don't know.
So I noticed that you sample a lot of silent films. I know one of them was Pandora's Box, obviously. And there's a couple more. Tell me how that fit into your thinking on this movie. Like, did they influence it, or you just love them so much you wanted to add them in?
Honestly, like with the Pandora's Talk Box came out of Pandora's Box. So Pandora's Box was a movie I started watching at UCF, and I think a lot of that was in there because this movie was about a lot of like me and Chris's friendship, and the first conversation we had was about Louise Brooks and Pandora's Box. So outside, because I think you were president of Film Club at the time.
Yeah.
So, and I'm
all
like
downhill from there, yeah. But
same for me, I was the president next year, totally downhill. So
well, I think that also for you, the silent stuff is like you're such a like romantic, you know what I mean? Like in both senses, like kind of like little R and small R and big R. Nothing is like
the enlightenment
captures the the romantic poets and like that kind of stuff, like those silent movies and kind of,
the darkness.
Weirdly, even expressionism, like it's kind of in those movies, and I feel like you with Pandora's Box was like using that to kind of develop that.
And it felt like a good I wanted time travel definitely in the movie, so it felt like cinema was a good kind of time travel reference point, because you have it, and that's why I think we had talked about this at some point, in our phone discussions was, having the past be filmed on VHS cameras, and not that VHS cameras existed in the 20s, but in this memory ethereal world that we're working in, because we love the Elvira openings where the candles are very foggy from the VHS trail, which I still can't master. I'm trying to just figure all that shit out still.
Yeah. So. But I think it worked in two ways because it was like it's older, so it is like memory, it's our collective.
Yeah.
But also you get the default aesthetic. So like if it works formally and narratively or whatever, like two for one is good.
Well, in the movie, you're kind of like traveling in space, right? Because you're like surfing through channels.
Yeah, exactly.
You have like a navigator that's navigating the channels for you. How did that even come about?
And TV static, is like the cosmic. I mean, what's inside Pandora's Talk Box is after Video Diary goes all into this science crap. But it is the remnants and of the Big Bang. With TV set, so it's this primordial thing. So that kind of like, I knew I wanted some like fucking Derek Jarman, like George Kuchar's Into the Flesh of Boys look for the Adam and Eve stuff. I just knew I wanted it to look alien and TV like, so then that kind of fed into it, having like the blood and TV static be one, because if that's what we're coming from, might as well be obvious.
Yeah.
And it looks pretty. So that's what it really comes down to, honestly. I'm like, Good.
Well, you also, I feel like you kind of also had like a latent body horror kind of thing going on, and like your body horror was yeah the TVs and stuff like that. Because even there is a point later where like the cords come out and go into like
Yeah.
you know, and then I think there was a more Videodrome-y kind of aspect to it at one point where like the VHS was going to come in and out of like the bodies and stuff. That kind of felt
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So the character of Louise is basically you, Lindsay?
She is like an amalgamation of me, my sister, Priscilla McEver, who plays her. She definitely brought her, like, Priscilla's amazing, you know, because I'll always remember, like, when we were doing our first day costume, you know, tests, you know, with Chris and Priscilla. And Chris was wearing his Freddy glove, you know, or it was Danny's Freddy glove, but, you know, with the 1920s look. And then when we were testing, you know, Priscilla's Louise, she just cut off all her long hair for the first time. She had, like, black dyed hair. And her and I both really connected on Winona Ryder in the 90s.
Yeah.
So she has that aura of Winona Ryder and Tilda Swinton, you know, and then her own kind of just like, you know, kind of stink face, you know, like
she has an angst.
Yeah, she has a Buster Keaton-ness to her, you know. So, which is the silent movie-ness I like, and I think that's what she brought to it, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and then she had just her own interpretation of things too. That, you know, so when she came out like looking like the character, I remember you telling me, Crystal, I'm like, doesn't she just look like her?
Yeah.
Fighting her for like 2 or 3 years, you know, like, yeah, it's fucking weird.
It's unreal.
And we had that too, you know, with Sarah, who plays Karen on Killer Makeover.
Yeah.
And Chris, with his characters, he plays like twins who work at a funeral home. You know, so it's a lifelong dream of his. To be
finally, thank you. Yeah.
And
but I only get paid once.
We all don't get paid enough.
And her character kind of starts off basically killing everyone she meets, almost, right?
What was that?
Like her character basically starts up with her like basically killing everyone she meets and has sex with.
Yeah, like you know, for me, it definitely like just the creation of Louise was like definitely like just my shame of my own body type of shit. You know, like regular American female shit, and I'm sure so when it comes right down to it, varying degrees. So it was that, you know, and some STD stuff I was dealing with that I won't, you know, go further on, you know, but that, you know, mentally affected me so much in my like early 20s that like Louise was kind of built off of that, and the character I wanted to be, but I wasn't, you know, because I'm not her, you know, I'm very different, you know, but like that's why I say she reminds me of my sister. There's so much like kind of Wednesday Addams, you know, bitch aura coming off of her that I want but don't have. So, and like Chris, you know, we would talk about his character a lot because like it's a mashup of like, you know, those male like heartthrob leads like John Cusack, you know, Say Anything mixed with Morgan Stewart. And, was it like Scott Valentine in the Lover? That one's my personal favorite. And you know, like what was the other one? Larocula guy.
Like those romantic nerdy guys.
Romantic nerdy guys,
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, definitely. But like Chris has his you know, his alter ego, Mr. Transylvania.
It was kind of like interesting to do it like where you play this role that was kind of like honestly the dream role for me, like to be like, oh, I'm, you know, all these guys I love from these 80s movies and like movies. But then also, I mean, outside of that, it's like we're like, you know, you and I and our friends and stuff were like aggressively, you know, freaks. So to also like put that in there where it's like, you know, like, oh, I'm playing this kind of like, you know,
I live in a cemetery, no big whoop.
Yeah, or like, but like this romantic comedy guy, but also like I'm like a transgressive, like kind of like more punky performance person.
Yeah, doesn't give a fuck. Yeah. And that's the funny thing that kind of carries over to like Killer Makeover. He has one of the twin characters has I always think it's a weird mirroring revamp almost. You know, where it's just like he's performing again in this dorky, you know, way, but it's like even better this time. So, you know, you always make the same movie over and over, they say.
Unlike 80s movies, like there's the nerdy romantic guy, and almost always the bro bully guys are men.
Yeah.
Like your movie, it's like women, kind of, right?
Yeah, they're the assholes. So
I think
Yeah, which you think is great.
Well, I think it's interesting. I think it's a change.
Yeah.
You know, like I mean,
Mhm.
it's like yeah. I always thought that was
I like bad girl movies. Like, what is it? Female Scorpion and Gates of Flesh, or what is it? What is the fucking Tokyo Drifter guys? Suzuki's prostitute movie.
Gate of Flesh.
That I was right. All right.
Yeah,
I think I get they're kind of like the bad guys in this movie, right? They're like bullying her around, telling her what to do or what to.
Yeah, and you saw a lot more of that in the earlier drafts. You
yeah.
know?
They were like horrible. I think they got toned
They were
down
really-
so bad.
Oh, totally. Like, I think the worst you see is like when I die, I'm like the sacrificial Lilin. You know.
Yeah.
So, like that one. It was just like, okay, there's enough. But like, I think there was like tying up and raping of men, you know, like having a kind of like a prostitute ring, like, hey guys, come over here type of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And that was in the early drafts, but that kind of gets toned back. Not only, you know, not that we don't want it to be dark, but
Yeah.
more that it's just practical to have just see a couple of Lilin, like Monica Panzarino and Erica Gressman play Jane and Emily, you know,
Yeah.
and then we have the little Lilin extras scene.
Right.
You know, like that's all you need to see. I think it's just like just get a glimpse of these worlds, you know, and your imagination will make up for the rest. Hopefully.
Also, the thing that I really noticed is like a lot of like the ritualistic scenes, which
Mhm.
remind me a lot of like 80s sci-fi TV where there's always like these weird religions having some kind of ritual going on.
Oh,
I
yeah.
love those.
Like,
Being
I
back
know
Where you
to
got that inspiration from?
like Alienation, right?
Yeah, there's always like those weird rituals going on.
Yeah.
Like Doctor Who, like so many like weird ritual religions he runs into.
I mean, when I was like, you know, if you're looking back at that era, like I'm thinking of like Sisters of Death, I think, and just I do remember like stumbling upon, you know, like TV channels that would have like 70s or 80s movies where like women are chanting and robes are tied up,
Yeah.
and like that's really, you know, arousing. So you want to put that in there.
And also like that.
I feel like there's not
Essentially,
enough rituals in movies now.
No. Well, I think it's
There's
also
nothing.
it's a chance to be creative. I
Yeah, I like
Like-
making lyrics because and you know, I'm not in a band, so.
Yeah. But if you can just establish a ritual or like, you know, your own fantasy religion for something, it's like you aesthetically can kind of do whatever you want, like what you did with, you know, the Lilin. I mean, it's like there's I mean, you have kind of like touchstones for certain things, but like besides that, it's just like go crazy, you know?
Yeah, and I think the weirdest thing with the movie that everyone brings up in other Q&A, so we can be open about it right now, is like the fact that like the ending, it doesn't have like there was a little bit more in the earlier drafts of explanation from the Lilin of what was happening, and we just cut that because of practicality. We didn't have the actors that day, and I didn't really have the dialogue together that day either. And I was just like, this is necessary. We talked about it. I'm like, I guess we'll make it obscure. We just want to have that 80s romantic comedy ending. I'm like, I wish I had more resources and time to figure it out, but like I'm also happy with how it is, you know.
Yeah.
So mixed emotions. So
You'd always do a part two.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've still got the shirt. You know,
yeah,
you know, it's the
and a
most
bigger
important.
mustache. So
Exactly. Yeah. The most
yeah, go
important
from
thing,
the 1920s to the 2020s.
yeah. Exactly.
Nothing happened. So
Yeah.
John Waters, we can finally get that cameo. I'm sure Lloyd Kaufman would join us. If we paid him.
Oh, absolutely.
Talk to
Yeah.
me about the music. Like, are these bands
Oh,
that you guys knew personally, or how'd that come about?
A lot of
Um,
them, right?
Well, like the songs that Chris does as Charlie are one of them is a straight up Mr. Transylvania song. I think was it the one you sing when it's a piano in the VHS, you know, 1920s world. Like,
Yeah.
so there's that one. And I just really like that song. It like kind of remind me of Nick Cave and shit. I'm just like, I got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know, and sometimes the lyrics don't really add up, but like that's fine. It's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it works. Fuck it. And what is it? The one you do, the sex with the ghost, was slight change on one of your actual Mr. Transylvania songs.
Yeah, that was a big one that I performed for a long time. And then the band that plays in the movie is Cemetery.
Mhm.
Danny, who supplied all the horror shirts and posters and VHS. That's his band, and that's him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Bestial Mouse. How did you meet them? The people that kind of do the main song, that throbbing.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're definitely like they're at least 4 or 5 of their songs kind of play throughout, and Danny introduced me to them. You know,
Oh, there you go.
and that was after we had shot Video Diary. And you know, there was another interesting thing with the music too. Like in the beginning of the movie, there is the Shadows Connected to the Light song, which is
Yeah.
written for that from the guy who plays Adam. His name is his performance name is Theodora Matt Donovan, and he wrote that for me because I won't disclose her name, but I had another completely different song with that scene edited, and she was just like, "This is too sexual. Don't please don't use my music." You know.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
respect to her, you know, putting up boundaries and everything, but I remember being pretty devastated that day. But those little devastations that happen, you know, in pre and post and whatever production, end up to something better eventually. You know, because then I got
Yeah, I mean that other song is incredible.
is way better. You know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
You never thought of like coming out with like a soundtrack for the
I think about that shit all the time.
like on a cassette or something?
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I mean, I had a video diary, a special edition VHS, and like, you know, it sucks with the reality of that. You know, it's just like it's not, you know, it's more work than I can handle for the money that comes from it. You know, so you know what, and trying like we've had a few distribution offers with video diary, you know,
Yeah.
but those are because they won't budge on the contract stuff or whatever. You know, we just want to find the right spot for it. So.
Yeah. And it's your baby. I mean, it's your first movie. You know, like
I
your first
know.
feature length movie, and you know you're protective of it. You know, but like
Yeah, and I'm too protective sometimes, but like I also don't want to end up like, you know, I love George Romero, but like he doesn't have anything from Night of the Living Dead. That sucks.
yeah. True.
Did you ever show this movie to students?
Oh, I've showed it to a few students, yeah.
What was their reaction?
Not the ones I've worked with, so.
No, that's what I was asking. Like the ones that you work with.
No, it's funny. I actually did show on my first film class. I showed the first scene to Killer Makeover because Killer Makeover is definitely not as you know, R-rated as Video Diary. It has we've talked about it being a little bit more like sleazy Disney, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so I just showed them the first scene because it's like pretty tame, and I showed them like here's the script. Let's read the script and watch the beginning of Killer Makeover, and you can see the difference from script to screen. You know, I could give you the first-hand experience. You know, and that was the only time I did that because it was like two kids. You know.
Yeah.
I was like trying to figure out the kinks, but yeah, I know some of the students I had are now entering middle school, so they're gonna find my shit eventually. So.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that.
They know about Killer Makeover though. They're so excited about Killer Makeover, and they want to make their own horror movies and stuff.
Oh,
you
that's
know?
great.
That's great.
Yeah. They always talk about Killer Makeover, and I leave out the fact that I leave something out, so it's easier for them to digest.
Well, I don't think you said how old the kids you work with are, like usually.
Well, that's the thing. It's different kids, but it ranges from like kindergarten to middle school. You know, so
Yeah.
I'll be a little more straightforward with the middle schoolers. So,
Yeah, ladies and
How you,
gentlemen.
Chris? Have you shown
Very
your family?
What was that?
My family has seen like my parents like not so much because like I just don't like they're gonna tell me anything's good. You know, they're just gonna be like, they're like, oh yeah, they're gonna be like, oh, this was great, you know, and it's like you don't like this. But my brothers and sisters are like actually legitimately into it. Like they've seen it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we grew up with like the same stuff. Like we're obsessed with like, you know, Back to the Beach and like Devo and like every Pee-wee's Playhouse. And
Yeah.
so they were like,
Shout out to
oh my
everyone.
god, this is amazing, you know. And so yeah, they've seen it. They've seen a lot of my work and heard my bands, and they kind
They've
of
been in your work too, like Jamie. So
Yeah, I cast my family in like my films and stuff, but like I basically they report back to my parents and are like, they're like, no, it's cool, like don't worry, like you don't need to see it. You
I
know?
mean, like with my family, like we had a family screening and we all talked about it ahead of time, and we had to shoo we paused the movie right before my scene came up because I'm fully nude, you know, and Dad, this is the time for you to leave,
yeah,
you know, so he came back after that scene,
yeah.
you know, and I had a weird moment with him recently, like, you don't remember us kicking you out in the middle of that? Like, what, were you topless? I'm like, fucking God, what, shut the fuck up, Dad.
Well, your dad is also a huge ham, and he wants you to put him in films. So
Yeah, he's in our next film.
and he's really good.
He plays
Yeah.
Calypso Joe. Yeah, so
he's really good in it.
a cruise director for the Queen Mary.
I think we're both really lucky though, because like both of our families, like kind of, at least I feel this. I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like my family like respects my weirdness.
Mhm.
Like they're just like they're very much like we don't get it to an extent, like my parents, but they're like, but you're you, and it seems to be working for you, so just do it.
You're doing what you're doing. Yeah, you're doing very good.
Yeah, and like, and your parents are like more begrudgingly, I think, kind of like, you're doing that again? Okay, fine,
My
whatever.
mom is. My dad is like so supportive, it's annoying.
Yeah.
To the point where I'm like, you guys stop giving me advice that's unsolicited, typical parent stuff. But I get my weirdness a lot from my parents, because like I talk to them like kind of every day. I'm like, I feel like they're just like my old friends at this point.
Yeah.
So like my mom raised me on like Twilight Zone and Tales from the Crypt, but then she wouldn't let me watch R-rated movies, so it's always a weird. I'm like, well, I like this enough. You can watch these things.
Yeah.
Curse words
I mean, your mom really likes movies, and is very critical.
and she doesn't always like my work. She's very kind of lukewarm, I think, on Video Diary. Like she definitely doesn't like what's inside Pandora's Top Box. She likes my dad in it, but she doesn't like that it exists.
But she likes other films you've made, though. Like,
you know what? The only film she likes is The Other Man.
Another movie we did in college. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like that was like when
It's like Bergman-y.
Yeah, it's Bergman-y, Bressani. Like I don't. Like it was, I was definitely like trying to go like the complete opposite direction. Like try minimalism for a change. I tried it, had a lot of, it was fine. So, but my mom wasn't.
That's a great quote, honestly. Minimalism, I tried it, it's fine.
It was totally fine. I've dated a minimalist, it's fine.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, it's but like that one, I like doing that one because it was just like, okay, like I can do this serious shit, now let's get really crazy. And I think that's when me and Chris really got, experimental with Wet Skin was our mermaid movie, and that one was like super Stan Brakhage and Caroline Demony and
What have you been watching these days, then, Lindsay, outside of stuff you've been making?
King of the Hill. So
it's so funny because like I get people, they know that I'm in film and work for some film organizations. They always ask me like, "What are you watching, Raul?" And they always think I'm going to give them some crazy like film thing. And I'm like, I'm watching happy endings. Like,
yeah.
Like I'm not watching like some horror films.
Well, for me, I'm like, I always put on something I know really well that I've seen a million times. That's comforting. As I'm editing all the time or working on Art for Killer Makeover. So like I need something like last few weeks ago was Sopranos. I watched that 3 times in a row. Like that was when I was finishing editing Killer Makeover mainly. I think it helped a lot. So after that was 6 Feet Under. Like I'll just binge and rewatch something I'm familiar with.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing too. Is like rewatch.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris?
I mean, kind of the same. I mean, like I always watch a lot of horror and rewatch a lot of the same stuff, like the Romero stuff. And for my birthday, we did like a Twitch stream where I love Italy. I'm obsessed with Italian horror. We watched a bunch of Italian horror movies, but then I will also just me and my girlfriend are watching like all the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah.
Like I feel like our whole thing has always been like try to like mix, like we both love experimental work. We both love like avant-garde stuff. But we also love like fucking candy.
I mean, the Harry Potter stuff or stuff like that, like Jurassic Park is like very rewatchable.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I like the Harry Potters, but now I'm like, oh, this is like one of the great film series of like the past 20 years. I'm like, they're all well done. They're all well acted. Like, I was like, I wrote them off, but we finally watched, like the back half, and I was like, I'm into these. Jurassic Park, same thing.
Yeah. Like I watched all the Jurassic Parks like a month ago. I was just like, I'm gonna watch them all. Why not?
Yeah, and it's kind of cool when you don't for a while, and you're like, you have this like kind of cachet of stuff where you're like, oh, you know what? I never watched this series or something like that. And like, I mean, movies are my, they're still my escape. So I'll just be like, oh God, I can watch all of this. Like I watched all the Benji movies. I'm like, oh, yeah. I watched like my girlfriend and I watched like 4 or 5 Benji movies, and I'm like immersed in the world of Benji, and I'm just like, I never watched these.
I mean, you can't like binge watch like Cassavetes or anything like that. But you can binge watch Benji.
Kind of like Lord of the Rings binge.
I mean, I think honestly you can binge watch anything.
Fassbender is the best.
Maybe you should check with a doctor first. Yeah. Oh, Fassbender. You could definitely binge watch Fassbender.
Yeah.
You can binge watch Pasolini. I think
Pasolini's such a good binge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zalowski.
But then at the same time, you can just, I binge watch like, Kolchak. We watch Charlie's Angels.
It reminds me of like
Columbo.
it reminds me of like fancy chefs. Like people always ask chefs what they eat, and all of them eat junk food.
Yeah, of course.
And so same thing with like us film people. We like junk movies.
Yeah, that's something I always realized about. I thought was interesting about Bresson was something a long time I heard about him, where he didn't go to the movies.
Oh, I missed that.
Like really, he didn't watch a lot of things. And then finally, there someone was interviewing, and they were like, "What's the last great film you saw?" And just randomly, he had for some reason gone to see like a James Bond movie. It was like the mid '70s, and he was like,
Casey.
"The last great film I saw was a James Bond film." He's like, "I think this is a very important film." I'm like, "Yeah, you think it's important because you're not fucking watching anything." But anyway, I just think that's interesting. It's like everyone. There's no mandate. You can have whatever relationship I think you want to film.
Yeah.
I mean, I like write about film and stuff, and I'll go through periods where I'm like, I'm not watching a whole lot, and then maybe when I watch something new, I'm like, it's like cocaine. I'm just like, oh my god, I haven't seen something like this. I just watched Get Out Your Handkerchiefs with Gerard Depardieu, the Bertrand Blier film.
Yeah.
I had never seen it, and I mean, we've just been watching pretty much like Harry Potter and stuff. And then I was like, fuck it. One morning, I'm like, let's watch this, and I was like, holy shit.
Yeah,
and I forgot it's
your tolerance is lower too.
Exactly.
We're drug addicts. Let's face it.
Well, I mean, plus, the weird times that we're in, you just want to watch something that we're pretty familiar with.
Yeah, I think so. I've been going for definitely comfort stuff big time. More than I thought I would, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed Chris's birthday Italian thing. We had another friend, Phil, who helped write Killer Makeover, and I watched Get Crazy for the first time, and I'm still talking about that with Cassandra.
Wow. That's a wild movie. We watched Strange Brew. Watch a lot of. I like to see what people's stuff is. You know what I mean?
I think last week I was watching all the Bourne movies.
See, I think that's cool. Like I watched Batman versus Superman.
Oh my god, that one I saw that.
I liked it. I watched all the DC movies.
I like Boomerang.
Okay, but I watched all the DC movies. I'm like, oh, these exist. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere.
Exactly. You're not going anywhere. You might as well watch it.
And I actually liked them more than I thought I would. I mean, because we're nerds, so. I mean,
it's okay to be snobby about it.
My girlfriend was like, "Why are you watching all those Bourne movies? They're terrible." I'm like, I think they're great. Just laying around watching kill people.
Yeah, and you're like, listen, if someone breaks in, someone's gonna have to defend this house.
Yeah.
You're like, and I know to go through the throat. I actually know those movies are very.
I do want to watch all the John Wick. I've only seen the third one, and I started with the third one, and that's how I got into Rocky too. Like Chris was around. Rocky's a big influence for Video Diary. There's a fucking quote from Rocky, I think, in there. And that is, I like starting backwards because I had seen Rocky Balboa first. I'm like,
I can't believe you haven't seen John Wick. You would love them.
Yeah, this is the third one, and I love that. So
first one's so good.
I'm really happy because now my father finally has new movies to like.
Yeah. No more Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, he just likes martial arts stuff and cowboy movies. And now it's that's kind of in between.
That's perfect.
And I'll just call my mom and I'll be like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? What's going on? She's like, nothing. Your father's watching John Wick. Blade, John Wick, those are his guys.
You can watch Demolition Man again. So yeah.
But,
okay, so we need to wrap up soon.
Okay.
What I wanted to ask Lindsay, you first, is any particular memory attending Cuff over the years that you could think of off the top of your head?
From Cuff?
Yeah.
Being at Cuff?
Yeah, being at Cuff. It's like a movie or, a party or whatever.
Oh, the parties. Oh, you know what? Unfortunately, it wasn't at the Video Diary one, but it was when I did, I think, it was right after we had shot Killer Makeover, and Brian asked me to do the trailer for Cuff. So I got to go on the bus and meet people and shit. And I didn't do that at all for Video Diary. I was too nervous to do anything. So, so I was able to do that because I'm like, I made a 30-second thing. I get all this free food. I'm fine.
Is that when we went to the brewery and the bus?
I went wherever we went. Wherever the bus took us.
It took us to Lagunitas Brewery. That's where it took us. I
I
remember.
remember it being like a warehouse in the middle of nowhere, and that's usually my experience with Chicago.
Yeah, because I was on that bus too. It was a good time.
Yeah. I remember waiting in line and it being like I felt like I was on a school field trip, and then I got to meet Anna Biller, who did The Love Witch, and you know, I related so much because she seemed like how I would react. I'm like, thanks for all the love. I don't know what to do with all this. So, thank you.
You two are like, I always think of you kind of the two peas in a pod in certain ways.
No, yeah, I really, I love her work, and of course, but that's the hard thing though. I'm a fangirl too, and I don't do good with, celebrity shit. I get really, like stupid. So.
How about you, Chris? Have you attended Puck or?
I never have, but I mean, I was going to say something about Chicago and the film scene is that if of all my memories kind of like Killer Makeover and Video Diaries, I spent a month. It's the only time I've ever been in Chicago, but both times I spent a month there. And like the best thing about making those movies, obviously hanging out with Lindsay, hanging out with friends, the people I met, like, and the city. Like I love Chicago. Like I think the city is awesome. The people are great. They're so funny. They're so nice, and like the art is incredible. So like I'm just really happy. Like I bought myself. I have I don't like sports. I have a Chicago Bears hat that I wear all the time. Like whenever I'm running, just because I'm just like Chicago is great. So.
Well, I think I gave you my Michael Jordan Bulls jersey long ago.
Yeah.
I think
Where's
they're in the movie.
Yeah, there's one in the movie, right?
Yes. I'm always worried he's going to sue me. But
well,
I'll
thanks.
mention when he sues me.
Thanks to you for being on the Q&A tonight, and thanks for letting us show your movie, Video Diary of a Lost Girl. You guys can still catch it online at our Inventive page. Check out our Facebook and our website at cuff.org. I'm Raul Benitez. I've been longtime staff member here at Cuff. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, Raul.
Thank you.